What's going on, family? Welcome back to another episode and another week of Unscripted. I'm your host, Akeem Haynes. Before we get into this week's episode of Unscripted, I want to get into this week's segment of bringing it to the table. For my new listeners and for my listeners who have been here since day one, new ones, welcome. New listeners, welcome. Day ones, appreciate you for tuning in as always. But this segment, Bring It to the Table, is basically a family oriented discussion. Maybe you have a topic that you would like me to touch on the podcast. Maybe you have something that is on your mind that you would like me to touch on the podcast, right? This is the part of the podcast where we have an open discussion and dialect and conversation about anything of any topics, all walks of life that may come to your mind or my mind as well. And this week, I want to bring to the table a question that I was asked last week. What does time mean to me? And I was never really asked this question before. Matter of fact, I was wondering if it was a trick question when I was asked, right? So I didn't really give an answer right away. I kind of sat on it and thought with it before I gave my perspective on it. And I kind of got to the point where, I think certain times in our lives, you get to a moment where you start to reflect, right? You start to reflect on the mistakes you've made, maybe some things you haven't done in the past or wish you would have started earlier. You just start to reflect about all of the decisions that you've made in your life that got you to where you are today, right? And it kind of led me to thinking this, right? I think time is something that we have to be conscious of how we're spending it, who we're giving it to, and how we are operating in the day to day, right? Because I think time wasted leads to regret, because it is in the day to day operation of things that we learn how to use our time wisely, right? Because I think we all get to a certain point, where you kind of think about the memories that you've had over the years, the people that you've met over the years, maybe what someone has done for you. Like, I'm a person who I never forget things that people do for me, right? Because people don't have to do anything. It's, they choose to. And so when someone chooses to encourages you, when they take time out of their day to send you a text message or a quick call or things of that nature, something that may not seem like a big deal, but they do it, right? And that is time spent when they had a thought about you. So for me, I always was conscious of that, right? And I think the more that I dissect this question, it makes me think about just the memories, right? Because even though our body will age, our minds will age, it'll still be sharp, but our minds will age, and our skin will age. Certain things about us will age, and we can't slow down Father Time. This is just a situation of what it is. However, nobody can take away our memories, right? And that's a double-edged sword, right? Whether good memories or bad memories, it is within us. It is ingrained in us, right? We can take that with us. And through time, maybe, we didn't start out with the greatest memories, but through time, we can build and cultivate new memories through time. And so I think when he asked me that question, looking back now, I think time for me, what does time mean for me? It just means being able to make good memories with good people, making good memories doing purposeful work, making good memories and learning and growing and evolving from your mistakes. Time for me at this stage in my life is memories, right? Building memories, because you can always take those things with you. And no matter what happens to your body, no matter how old that you may age and become, those are memories that you gain only through experiencing life in its entirety, right? So I think, we have to be conscious about our time, and there's certain moments where we have to, move quicker than most. But I think in every situation, in every moment, we have to analyze and realize that in time, man, there are so many memories that we can build, good or bad. The evolution of a person stems from the memories and how we handle our situations. And you'll be, it's funny, right? When we're looking for hope, we often need to look back at memories in the past that we didn't have hope or was losing hope, and we found a way to gain hope and we can carry that over. But that always stems from memories of the past, right? So that's what I'm talking about is as time goes on, you can build and cultivate memories, right? So I think time means to me at this stage in my life is just being able to cultivate good memories, doing purposeful work, engaging with people that are encouraging, that are positive, and just trying to limit the negative memories that could impact your life. But I would love to know what time means to you. You know, what does that mean? What does that speak to you about when that question is asked? So if you could do me a huge favor and just let me know, right? Let me know if you're watching it on YouTube. Let me know in the comment section, or if you want to DM me, or if you want to email me, whatever the case may be. I want to know what time means for you at this stage in your life. So before I introduce my special guest this week, I want to share something real quick. If you are enjoying the content that we create for you, if you're enjoying the podcast, if you're getting something from it, if it's feeding your soul, like I hope that it is, then I suggest that you head on over to our Patreon and see how you can best support the podcast. Look, we have some big things in stores for the podcast, some big things we want to bring for you and to you, and we definitely need your help to get there. What is a Patreon? Well, a Patreon is basically a Netflix for your favorite creators. I hope that, I'm one of your favorite creators. But basically what it is a tier by tier subscription style base program that truly helps and keeps this podcast moving and grooving and flowing so we can continue to bring you great quality content. But you can head on over to our Patreon in the links in the comments below in the section, and you can see what tiers we're offering at different rates that we're offering it. Look, your support would go a long way and it would be greatly appreciated. So again, if you would like to support us on Patreon, head on over there and check out what we're offering. I think it's some things in there that you're truly going to enjoy and truly going to find insightful. So with that being said, let's get on over to this week's guest on the podcast. So my guest this week is American 100-meter hurdler Sharika Nelvis. Sharika is, I want to say she's either number 8 or number 9 on the all-time world's list in her field, right? She's always smiling. She has a very infectious laugh. She's fun. But it's funny, right? All of the things that we see that she is in public, you wouldn't anticipate or think of the things that she had to overcome, right? This is a story. Sharika's story is not only inspiring, but it truly makes you think about your own situations and what you're dealing with and how it's important to be grateful of all that you have, right? Before she was 8 years old, she lost both of her parents and her grandmother, so she had to stay with her aunt away from her brothers and sisters, right? And you see in this conversation how she found joy, right? How she found her own happiness and how she is continuing to live her life a certain way. And she's intentional about how she operates, how she trains, what she thinks, and where she is trying to go, right? This is an episode that I think is not only going to be inspiring, but, it's going to give you a good sense of who Sharika is. You're going to hear her laugh, you're going to hear her crack jokes, and literally, I think this is a good representation of who she is and who she is as a competitor, and when she can flip the switch, and when she can go from laughing and smiling to being focused and zoned in on the task at hand. So without further ado, enjoy this week's episode of Unscripted with Sharika Nelvis. Before we actually get into the core stuff that I want to talk about, I want to talk about just briefly about last year, right? I think obviously we all got hit globally with something that we're still trying to recover from, but from a perspective of you, from a mental health standpoint and from an athletic standpoint, how did you navigate through the day to day to keep yourself in the right state of mind, but also the disruptions when it comes to training?
Yeah, you know what though, in the beginning I was not a believer at all. I'm not gonna get on here and lie. I was like, it's the same thing that happened in 2016. They gonna go about everything the same, blah blah blah. And then next thing I know, I don't watch the news. I hardly ever watch the news. So it's just like, next thing I know, everything starts shutting down. Luckily for me though, I was at a high school training. And so the only thing that I was affected by was being able to go to the weight room. I was living in an apartment in Alabama, so we didn't really have equipment to like just be training and lifting. And then I was on the third floor, so you just have to be mindful. Like you don't want weights dropping, you fall down to the second floor. So
Yeah.
I think the only thing really that I was really affected by was the weight room. And so we were able to practice every day still. And I was still like, in the whole mindset of like, we're going to have a season. Like, we're going to have a season till we're not having a season.
Mm.
And then after a while, I was just like, okay, we ain't having no season. And so me and my coach, we started shutting down. And I got a phone call from my agent. It's like, yeah, so, we're going to go to this meet. I'm like, I need to know way ahead of time because at that time we had started really shutting down our season. Like we weren't going to do anything, and then we got the phone call, and we were just like rushing to do stuff. So we were just like, you know what, just go. I had one meet last year. I ran a couple indoor meets, but it wasn't the hurdles. It was like off events, the 200 to 60. And so outdoor came. I didn't have anything under my belt, and we went to a meet, and it was just tragic because it was like, well, the type of year it's been, we literally shut down before we even came here. And so it was just like, I mean, just go ahead, just go run something. Like, just go get out there and have that competitive feel. But it was just like, if I was in a space that, could have been like, oh, if I run this time, I feel a certain way. But I knew going into that, like what we had planned for, what we did, and what we weren't want to do. So I didn't really let it get me. Of course, I was mad that I end up losing the race and running a really slow time. But I was just like, you know what? It's not who you are. You know what you've been doing. You know what you're capable of doing. So we ended up just like shutting it down after that. We were supposed to go to another meet. I was like, ain't nobody got time for that. Like, take me home. Take me home.
Yeah.
And so went going home and just getting our mind right, focusing on this following year.
I think it's so interesting because, especially from athletic standpoint, but the people in general, just give it to us straight. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
don't give us this hope if you know that. Like, I understand you want to be hopeful, but when you're trying to peak for a certain time,
Yeah.
it's hard to kind of trust something like that. So, again, like we've I think the skill in your life, especially from a young age, right, is your adaptability, right? For people who know you, people who don't know you, like Sharika, you're a very joyful person. You like to laugh, you like to have fun, and I think you do a great job, better than most people, of finding the good in tough moments. I literally think I've seen you mad like one time. That was 2015, but we'll get into that a little later. But where does that come from, right? Because I know you had a tough upbringing. I know you had parts of your childhood where you had to grow up kind of fast. You lost both your parents before you were 8, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
And then your grandmother had a stroke. And then and then you stayed with an aunt, right? How does a young person be able to still be joyful in the midst of all that pain and kind of confusion growing up? How did you handle that?
Oh, how did I handle that? Jeez. I think at a young age you really don't really take in all that's happening around you until you grow up and you're older. And now that it happened there, of course you have, those emotions, but I don't think it's as much as like, understanding as an adult. So I think with me being so young, I didn't fully understand what was happening. I knew what was happening, but not like to the like if I was an adult. So everybody asks me like, oh, how can you be so, and it's just like I've had that time to be sad, to walk around with a however feeling, and now like I made it through that. So I'm going to be happy for the remaining time that I have on this earth to be happy. So it's just like a lot of things I am like not, I don't feel a certain way about it, like in a bad way. I feel it, but not in a bad way. And I think it's because, I've I've had so much stuff already happen to me. Like I've been sad before. So it's just like now it's just time to be happy and just try to find the positives in everything that's going to be negative. So I think that's for me, that's what it is, I feel like.
It's so interesting because I think everybody handles things extremely differently. And the fact that you said that, you had your time and you had the moment to feel what you feel and feel what you're going through. When I was growing up, I lost a very good friend of mine very early. And it made me think about one, how short life can be sometimes, but also what it's like on the other side as far as, look, I'm still here. There is still something for me to do. Uh, how did you navigate that? Like, was it something that you kind of pulled out inside of you and said, you know what, I got to live every moment today? Was it something that you kind of worked through? Because I think there's different stages of everything, right?
Yeah. I think it just came natural, to be honest. Like, it wasn't like, okay, I need to do this. Like, it was just like, at one point I lost my mom. At another point I lost my dad. Then I lost my grandma. Then I lost uncles and all of this. And I'm just like, okay, I'm losing all of these people. I'm sad in the moment when it happens, but then you have to live, because they say time waits for no one. So you still have to live while you're here. And so I'll have that moment, but it's not like I don't have it for too long. And that goes in track and field as well. When I lose or I don't run a good time, I have that moment and I look at it like, okay, here's your moment. You get like, I'll probably do like an hour or so. Like, I'll have my hour and it just be like, because there's nothing you can do about it. You literally can do nothing about it. That's what losing people, that's what losing races, that's like life in general. Things that you can't control, you have to let it go. So I think it just came natural to me, honestly. And I'm like, I was a bad kid too, anyway. So it's just like, I was super tough.
You I never asked you this question. I never asked how you ever got into hurdles because literally every time, every time you used to say, you know what, I can hoop, I can ball, but you always laugh after, right? So was sports a thing that kind of came to you early? Was it basketball first? Was it something else? But how did you get into actual track and field and hurdles in general?
You know what? So I think the very first sport I ever played was basketball, but that's only because in middle school, I didn't run AAU because I mean I didn't know about AAU, one, and then two, I didn't even have the money to run AAU. So like it was just like I was never going to do that. So I started wanting to run track in elementary. I know we used to have this thing called field day, and it's all the kids. We would be out in the field. We were doing like the sack potato, the dash. We would run, and I just, I don't know, it was just something that I wanted to do. I was like, oh, I cannot wait to get to middle school so I could run track. But track in middle school, it wasn't the first sport. So basketball was originally the first sport. I tried out for the team. I didn't make it, but it was the same coach.
Whole time you was telling me you could hoop, you didn't make the squad.
I be lying. I can't. So listen, I can. Look, okay, I can. Mm, I have good defense.
Yeah.
I can get rebounds. I say, have I told you I can play basketball? Because I always say I can't play basketball. Did I? Was I lying? No, listen.
Like, yo, it's kind of nice, I'm like, yeah. And then
I thought
like,
it was a lie.
and then
I had to be joking because no, I'm trash at basketball. I only say I'm trash because I don't have a shot. Like I can do everything else. I could dribble a little bit, but I don't have a shot. I'm not that good. I'm really good at defense though. I could D somebody up real quick, but shooting is not my thing, and dribbling. I could dribble enough to like keep the ball in my hand, but no. So basketball originally was the first thing that I played. I tried out for the team. I didn't make it, and it was the same coach as a track coach, and so that later on that year, I tried for the track team. I made it. So then the following year, he's like, "You're gonna be on the basketball team, stay in shape." So that's how basketball came about.
did did track come to you very very easily? Like, did you feel like you were good at it right away? Because I think sometimes people are late bloomers. But was it like that for you?
Track was just like that was just literally what I was able to do. It came natural. I started off crazy thing. Started off as a 4 200 runner, sixth grade.
Ooh,
I used to do the 4x4, the 400, and the 200. And each year, I would just change events because I went to with 3 different middle schools. So in the 6th grade, I was at a school. I started off as a 4 200, and that was good. Like I was good at it. And then I went to another school my 7th grade year, and I was a 200 100 runner. And then 8th grade, I honestly just walked up to the track coach and I said, "Hey, can I hurdle?" And she was like, "Yeah." And ever since then, I've been hurdling. I saw one of my old coaches a while, like after I had already graduated high school and all that. He was like, "Why you never hurdled at our school?" I was like, I don't know. I don't know.
So you get into hurdles and you ask to do hurdles and it goes well. I think every athlete, every person gets to a point where they realize something that they're in can possibly impact their lives and open different doors for them. What was that process like for you? And when was the moment that you said, you know what, I think I can use this as a gateway to open up? Because we don't always get that opportunity, right? I think sometimes people see athletes and they see them out there and they're just like, wow, like they're so lucky and this and that. But this is not luck. This is a calculated step by step. But you first have to figure out and believe that you can do more.
Yeah.
When was that realization for you?
It was really, really late for me because honestly, I had never before college, I had never seen a track meet on TV. Before college, I had no idea
Before
that I
college,
could do this. Before I went to college, when I was in middle school, I was just running just because I wanted to run. Middle school, high school, and then even in high school, I was like, wait, I can get a scholarship to run track,
mm,
really, and go to college. I was like, okay, yeah, let's do that. And then it wasn't until I got to college that I was just like, oh, you can actually do like you can make a living doing this. Like, and so I was like, okay, but literally I had no idea. So that's why when I run across people who's just like, oh, you trying to make the Olympics and they know nothing about track, I understand because I didn't either. So I'm just
crazy.
like, yeah, that's I mean, it's more than that, but yeah, yeah.
So I saw somewhere where obviously I know you went to Arkansas State, but I saw somewhere where you had a little stint in the JUCO college life. You know what I'm saying? That's my parts. But I also read that it was very short. So talk me through that very short stint at
Very, very,
Southwest Mississippi
very,
and why the quick change?
very short. Because you know what? Honestly, it does not take me long to know how I'm supposed to be somewhere, right?
That is
So,
true.
so okay. After high school, I was just like, I was looking at different colleges or whatever, but it ended up being a JUCO. So the JUCO, I went to this JUCO because I didn't take a course class that I needed to go into a Division 1 school. So I was just like, it's my summertime. I don't want to do that. I'll just go to a JUCO. And being honest, I'm being honest. So I was just like, I'll go to a JUCO. I went there. One, it was like I think I don't know how far it was from Memphis, but it was a long way from Memphis. I didn't have a car and I didn't have any money. So I was just like, how am I going to get around? What am I going to like? How can I tell? I told this guy that's like my dad I met in high school. I was like, listen, I am leaving if I don't get allowance and a car. He thought I was lying. And I came home maybe about a week. I came home and two, I was gonna originally come home, but I had a boyfriend at the time who actually got kicked out as well. So I was like, oh yeah, I'm definitely leaving. Like we about to go back to Memphis. And
One
so
plus one equals
I
two.
had I visited Arkansas State, right? And I was talking to this coach, like after I withdrew myself from the college, I was like, okay, so what do I have to do to come to Arkansas State? And then he told me the process, and I was like, okay, that's fine. So my first year I had to sit out, but I was still training. I would train by myself or off to the side with Jason Brooks, who I knew because we were on the same AAU team. Eventually, when I started running for this AAU team in high school, and I would just work every day, and I got a full ride the next year.
I want to talk about the transition of from being a high school athlete to the collegiate athlete, right? In the NCAA, in high school, in your specific place, every state, I know it is in America, but in Canada, every state, province, there is different levels and different tiers to it. But then when you get to a different level, especially NCAA, you realize that every other athlete was the best in their city or the best in their state. But now you're trying to balance the student athlete life. And I think people don't understand how much of a balancing act that comes to deal with, because you you're an athlete first and trying to do your homework along the way, right?
Mm.
You said you didn't run your first year. You were still training, but what was it like finding balance? And what were some of the things that you had to adjust to in a new system, a new atmosphere? But now you get to be and to compete in a school that I think your name is always going to be synonymous with. So talk to me a little bit about that transition for you on the track and off the track.
Okay, so we can start on the track. And you know what? It's so much stuff that I didn't know, like moving from high school to running collegiate track, right? So when I was in high school, honestly, I probably didn't practice for real until like I got on the AAU team my junior year in high school. So like literally I practiced in middle school, and then high school came and it was just like, okay, you can practice but not practice. So it wasn't like, yeah, come on, track team, let's go practice. We got practice after such and such time after school. It wasn't like that. And so transitioning from that to college, I came in and I had to lift weights. I'm like, what? Lift weights? It's about to lift weights. I'm like, I didn't know you had to lift weights. That was the first thing I was like, huh? Why do I have to lift weights? So that was the thing too. That was one thing, and then it was just like, so when I came here, I was training by myself, which was fine. It was harder simply because like I was running distance that I had never ran before. Like I did 300 hurdles in high school, but I didn't have to train for that. So like training wise, I'm running longer distance, and I'm like, what am I doing this for? And so that was that. Off the track, it wasn't bad. I had to get my grades together that first year, so it wasn't really that bad, because like I don't even know. I can't even remember. Let me see. My freshman year, 2000. When did I come? 2010. Yeah, I was in the process of just getting my grades, and I got my grades that year, and I was fine. But as far as like coping with both of them, it was pretty easy for me simply because like at first I didn't know what I wanted to go to college for. One, but then two, once I did find out, my major was pretty easy. It was journalism, so like that it wasn't really hard. I mean, it's a lot of writing, a lot of reading, but it wasn't really hard with that transition from being able to do both of those.
You always have been confident, at least from what I've seen. You've always been confident. You've always believed in yourself. You've always believed that you could do, obviously great things. But what is your mental walk through when it comes to leading up to competition, right? How do
Mhm.
you flip on from practicing? Obviously they say practice makes perfect and all that good stuff. But sometimes you can be a machine in practice, but then you come into meet and it just doesn't come together, right? So what is your mindset going into practice? And then how do you make that shift going into competition? Does anything change? Because I've spoken to many different athletes. Obviously, I've been in it myself. And sometimes practice and competition don't correlate. But for you, what is that going into? Do you change anything? Is there something that you say to yourself as like cues? But what is your mental mindset going into competition and just everyday training?
Okay, so my mental is as far as competition, right? I don't want to. I don't want to sound too like I'm full of myself, but I'm a beast. Like that. That is just
Yeah, yeah.
That is just like when it gets down, like that's just who I am. That's just, I mean, of course I don't be like, I don't just like, be cocky with it, but it's like, listen, I do this. Like I train for this. So when I get on that field, I'm gonna show y'all that I've been working my butt off, and the results are it's gonna show that I've been working. So it's just literally, I'm like, I am a beast. Like, and when I lose, listen, I'm like, you know what? You beat yourself. They didn't beat you. You beat yourself. It's something that I did that allowed me to lose that race every time because I know what I'm capable of doing. And so that's how I go into races. That's how I go into practice. Like I'm training for this. I'm working my butt off. I'm working hard, and I'm a beast. So listen, if y'all beat me today, you ain't gonna beat me tomorrow. So
2014, right? I think that was a special year. You won an NCAA indoor title, correct? And then you went out and you won the outdoor title, right? Running 793, 1252 windy. What did that year, like what was going through your head that year, right? Because that was the first year that I saw you. I saw you in NCAAs. And it's funny, we were going in the call room and you were doing a stride. And I have always been a mental guy, right? Like I always can tell when somebody is locked in, when somebody is just there, to say they were there, and when somebody's there to dominate and make their presence felt, right? You were not laughing. You had your music on.
Probably had a bad weave.
I think you had braids. I think you had.
Outdoor, but indoor. I just posted a video yesterday indoor, and I was like, why did my friends let me have this wig? Oh my gosh. Okay, go ahead.
You were focused that year, right? What was so different about that year, right? Did you feel confident when you won the indoor title? That same machine that you said that you've been is finally a reality. It's one thing to say it, but when it happens, what was that year like for you? Did you feel when you were telling yourself finally start to come out? And did you feel like you finally lived up to your potential?
You know what? Each year when I was in college, I made goals. So like my sophomore year, I think I was second team All-American. And I was like, okay, that's fine. Now your junior year, you're going to be first team. And then I said, your senior year, you're going to win. I told myself that, right? And so indoor came, and I had a really great year, right? And so then national comes, and I barely make the final though. Like I was the 8th person to get into the final. So I went and I literally, I'm not going, I went and I said, you really playing with me, huh?
Yeah.
I said, yeah, it's definitely no way I'm not winning, because I was like, you just got 8th. You just got the 8th spot. That is your retry. And so I was like, I'm about to win tomorrow. Like the next day, I was like, yeah, I'm about to win. I was in lane 1, indoor, in lane 1. And I was just like, you got to go get it. You're the last person in here. You got to go get it. And so that's what I did. And then 2, it was just like, I'm Arkansas State. Nobody's really expecting someone from Arkansas State to win. All year, they have been saying, oh, I think even in the video, they said like an underdog, and they said like another school or something, because all the big schools was in there. Nobody was really paying attention to Arkansas State. So for me to do that and be able to put Arkansas State on the map, I was like, it's people coming from everywhere now, y'all can't count them out. And so, yeah, that indoor meet was crazy. It was fun because I literally barely got in. I was like, yeah, I'm about to win, because it's no way I can't win barely making the final. And then outdoor came in, a lot of people started to, talk about you, your name getting out there. Oh, she's from Arkansas State. She's from this. And honestly, going outdoor, I didn't even know I was undefeated. I didn't know because I wasn't paying attention to any of that. Like they were like, oh yeah, her whole outdoor. I think at nationals outdoor, I watched the race, and people were like, yeah, she's been undefeated whole indoor outdoor. And I was like, oh, I have. Oh, okay, that's cool. That's cool. Okay, okay. And so then got the job done there. And I was like, yo, Jasmine was coming up on me though. She was definitely coming. And I was like, okay, that's good. That's good. And it was just like 2 national titles. And I was like, that's crazy. The following year though, I went to nationals indoor in the 200 and long jump.
See, you could have been a heptathlete really if you really wanted to cool.
But you know what? I did that one time in high school. I did the pentathlon my last year, and I ended up getting second. It wasn't so bad, but you know that 800 is like I can't.
Back get tight, knees get weak.
Everything is tight. I can't do it.
I want to ask you this, right? Because I think sometimes we don't feel it, or maybe some people do. As your name was starting to get out there more, you already won indoors. Did you feel pressure? You know what I'm saying? Like sometimes when you're in the midst of just trying to reach your goals, obviously good things happen, but sometimes you succumb to the pressure because now you're hearing, oh, hey, watch out for lane 1 or lane 5 or lane 6. Did you ever feel pressure during this time?
No, I didn't feel pressure. I just always been like, okay, so that's when all the interviews start and they all want to. I'm like, I don't want to do no interviews. Like, leave me alone. I think like I had like one really big interview, and I was just like, I really rather not because it was like right before nationals, and it's just like I don't really want to do an interview, but it was just like my coach was like, well, sure, you could just go. I'm like, okay, I guess, but no, I didn't. I really didn't feel pressure. Like I've been pressured my whole day going life, so it's just like, nah.
So, for those listening, right, whether you're in a professional sport or a high performing place, what is one tip that you would say to someone like how to handle pressure situations, right? Because whether you're in the sporting field, you're giving a presentation, you're trying to close a deal, whatever it is, it's a high performing position, a high performing state. But what is one tip that you would give that would maybe help them deal with the nerves and the calmness to be able to execute?
Shoot, if I had to give like a tip, I would just don't go looking for it. Like because if you notice everything's on social media, if you stay off of it, you're fine. Like you're just gonna be super green to it. You're not gonna see it, you're not gonna hear it. And I think that was like a really big thing for me in college. Like I really wasn't on social media. And let me tell you, in 2016, that's when I started being like, oh, let me do this, let me look at this, let me look at that. And it's just like it's not good for you. So just stay away from it. Like delete the app off your phone if you have to. Because I feel like if you can stay away from that, you'll be fine. But if you're one of those people who just wants to be on social media, I feel like you have to have like short-term memory so you can read it and let it go. You can't have it sticking around, lingering around. You just read it or look at it, hear it, let it go.
After your success in 2014, the next year you turned pro, right?
Mm-hmm.
Talk to me a little bit about what that process was like, but also talk to me about how did you trust people, right? Because you know how it is. People want you when you're doing well, when things are flowing, when you're looking prosperous, when everything is well. And that's not in sport alone. That's in life in general. Who and what is your process when it comes to finding the right people to surround yourself with? What are some things that you looked for during this process?
Let me tell you, I have to actually just trust my gut, right? Coming out of college, I was signed with an agency that I went to, and it wasn't for me. Like I could feel it. I'm writing, I'm texting, I'm trying to get information, and mind you, coming out of college, I didn't know. Like it was the same process for me as far as like not knowing things. Uh, because at the time, like I just feel like my coach, he wasn't really. I want to say he wasn't like preparing me to. Let me see. I'm trying to see how to figure. Like he wasn't really just like letting me know the ins and outs.
Mm.
And so I was again green. Like coming from high school to college, I was green. But I will tell you, my gut never lies to me. So I ended up leaving this agent, the agent that I originally signed with out of college, to go to an agent that I'm currently with now, because it was my gut telling me like, listen, no, this ain't where you need to be. And then two, with the coach, I ain't gonna say the coach's name, but I was super excited. Like the coach ended up hitting me up saying, "Hey, I want to train you." I was like, "Oh, you want to train me? Oh, that's where I'm going." I'm like, "That's where I'm going." I got there and it wasn't for me. Like the vibe, just the feeling, it wasn't for me. So I was like, and I'm one of those people that I actually have to be in a situation like to know like that's not for me. Like I needed to go there to be like, that ain't for you. Like find somebody else. Like find something else. And so I just think it's like a thing, like honestly, it just be my gut. And it don't take me long. Like I think I was with that agent for like 2 days, 2 or 3 days. And I was like,
Wow.
yeah, this ain't for me. I mean, I waited though before I, sent them email, and told them like, listen, this we have to figure something out. I go somewhere else. And the same with the coach. I was like, I like you, but this ain't a fit for me. And I think too with that, people always get offended and they take it personal. And it's like, if it was you, you would do what was best for yourself. So that's what I'm doing. Like I don't understand why people feel the need to get upset when it's a business. I'm doing what's best for myself. You would do the same thing given the opportunity. And so I end up leaving and going to a different coach I could tolerate for, I guess, more than 5 days. But end up leaving that coach too. But
This was all in the same year, right?
15, yes. Yeah. So after the 15th season, I end up going to another coach. Yeah.
So, what 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 were some of the challenges that people don't talk about that a young athlete looking to turn pro should look for, right? Because you talked about being green in it, learning everything on the go, trying to figure things out, knowing that this didn't work out once you got the feel from it. But I think that's the stuff that people don't talk about. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
People think looking out for you um, is gonna somehow not allow them to succeed. But what are some of the things that you would tell a young athlete to look out for?
Some of the things that I would tell, I would just honestly tell people to do their homework. Don't be so quick to go with someone or sign with someone. Know what you're getting yourself into. Talk to other athletes that had that agent or had that coach. Reach out to those people. Um, and just you just have to do your homework honestly, because I mean, I could say, oh well, that wasn't a good fit for me, but then it could be a good fit for somebody else. And so it's just all about honestly doing your homework, talking to these people, having conversations, um being a I don't I mean, I guess I wouldn't say being around them, but like just, I guess a phone call could really give you a feel for somebody. Like talk to these people. Don't be so quick to sign anything, and ask people who's experienced what you're going to experience. But I think that's the hard part too, because a lot of times people don't even respond to like collegiate people, like when they're asking them a question. But I would just say, just try, shoot, send an email to somebody, or just you just got to try to reach out to people and try to ask them their experience. Your experience is not going to be the same, because I ended up talking to this one girl, about my experience at Arkansas State, but her experience was different, and I tell people that off the rip, like, listen, the experience I had is mine. I
Mm-hmm.
loved it. You might not love it. So I'm just giving you my experience. You can take it and go run with it however you want to. But that's just, when I'm talking to anybody, even if I'm talking to somebody about the agents that I'm with, or anything, I'm like, this is my personal experience. This is what I went through. This is how I felt.
Yeah, and I think that's important, right? I think sometimes people forget that it's a personal experience.
Yeah.
Every situation, every person's different because we're all different. And I think finding what works for you, right?
Yeah.
Especially every step of the way. Your intuition has said, you know what, this ain't gonna work for me.
Hmm.
Southwest Mississippi, Arkansas State worked very well that he came out here. And but I think once you get to the professional ranks, right, even though in those first couple of years you were dealing with the transition from that and the coaching, you still ran one of the fastest times of all time in women history down there in 12:37. But you are also in a field, in an event where literally on any given day somebody could run that time, right? So just because you run 12:37 doesn't mean that that's going to win, right? What is the when you turn professional, did you know that you had to elevate yourself to a different position? What was the competition like? And because you know the 100-meter hurdles in America is deep, right?
Hmm.
But I always get the feeling that you're a person that likes the challenge. Did anything change mentally for you, competition wise, when you turned professional?
No, you know what? I think it was hard for me transitioning from high school to collegiate because in high school I had like a couple girls that were faster than me. But in college, it's like, oh, so she fast too. It dang, everybody fast. So it's just like, okay, everybody's fast. So transitioning from collegiate to professional, it was just like a walk in the park because it was just like, okay, all these people that's here, you've already seen everybody that is fast. So adding a couple more faster people isn't going to make a difference. So it's just like for me, it was just like that transition was way easier. So it was just like, all right, I've already experienced all these girls that was fast. Now we're just add a couple more in there. That's fine. It's okay. I'll get over it.
So it was never anything that really flipped the script, so to speak, because you knew that the higher that you get up, the faster everybody would be. But like, I think we have to have a method when things don't go our way. Obviously, your life has kind of prepared you for the ups and downs of sport by itself. But you, again, going back to the time where I said I've only seen you mad like once, but then the next day you were back to being your old you. How do you not take a loss to heart so seriously on the track? Does that stem from life, what life has, the cards you've been dealt in life? But for everybody listening and for those who are wondering, what are some tips that you could give to turn a negative into a positive and use it as a teaching moment?
Yeah, I had to learn. I really had to learn that once the race is over, it's over. So it's just like you lost, go back, watch what you did, watch what caused you to lose, and fix it. Like you can't be mad. I think in 15, I was probably mad all day though. Like I think I was mad all day until the next day.
Yeah, yeah.
But now I'm just like, okay, I lost. You can't fix it. You can only move forward from it. So it's just like, why I'm gonna be sad all day? Why am I gonna let a 12-second or 7-second race ruin my whole mood? Like you just got to go back to the drawing board. And so I just say, have short-term memory because you have to have that. And it's just like, okay, it happened. I ain't saying like just go and party because even when I'm at meets, like, and if I lose, I'm not going to party, but I'm not going to be like mad all day. But I'm just saying, like, find something that takes your mind away from that and turn it into a positive. Like, shoot, instead of going partying, go look at your videos or go look at the practice videos, see what you did there that you made a mistake in your race or something to go toward what you want to do moving forward. But you can't stay mad all day.
2015, for those listening, we're talking about the World Championships, right? Where that was the year you ran 12:37, and it obviously didn't go the way that you wanted it to, and then that was the day that you said you were mad and you were upset. But then the next day, you know, the next day we're talking. You're like, yo, you want to go to Chinatown? You want to go to the market? And so we went, And that's a whole different story by itself.
What did I buy? Did I buy some bundles of hair?
Oh, you wanted a camera lens.
Hey, didn't I buy a camera though? I bought a lens, I think.
Yeah, but I think it broke, didn't it?
Yeah, it was broke. But I mean, you expect that anyway. You expect that when you buy little for nothing.
Yeah, I was just like, but it was interesting because it just goes to show being able to separate the two, right? But when you are away from the track, how do you find balance? You have a journalism degree, but you're also, I know you're big into fashion as well too, and you're big into other things. What do you do when you're not away from the track? Because I think too many times athletes think they can only be good in one thing, but there's so
Yeah.
many parts to it. How do you find balance?
Well, now I'm just like always in the house because one, uh, I'm either I'm either at practice, at weights, cooking, which is that's like right there takes up all my time. Or either I'm either at those three places or I'm at the school with the kids because my boyfriend he's an assistant coach. So by the time I get done doing that, I don't have any more time for myself. I have dogs as well, so they take up a portion of my time. And then I've started to get into my major journalism. I've started taking pictures and all of that good stuff. But yeah, I just feel like the time just it all goes together when I'm doing so much stuff because I'm like, oh yeah, I got time to do this, and then it's like, no, you don't. You don't have time to do that. Just
Mm-hmm.
sit down. So I am because now we have a garage gym, weight room. So that's easier to where I don't have to go and go to a weight room to go lift. So that cut off a little bit of time, but I still be in there for like an hour, 30 minutes.
Yeah,
It's just we try to do better, like we said, because now since we have the kids in the afternoon, we try to make sure that we're eating breakfast, we're lifting early, and then practicing so that we have time to come and get lunch, and then go to feed the kids. And then after that, we have more free time, but we'd be tired after we get done with that. So
I want
it's
to.
just time managing. Like you have to be able to like, okay, write down what you want to do. Like at 8 o'clock, it doesn't have to be exactly 8 o'clock, like 8:05 though. Give like, just write down what you want to do. Because the time, I promise you, it goes by quick.
I mean, time management as a professional is one of the biggest things that'll help you.
Yeah.
Especially if you want to get to a certain level. Um, I want to talk about this before we get into the last five easy questions. Um, you have obviously gained experience over the years, but now you've kind of made this full, full circle back to where things started to take off for you, right? Arkansas State, I'm sure, on the track was a good time. You made everything felt off the track. They're like family to you, so to speak. I would think from our conversation and from what I've seen. What was it like coming back to a place that kind of helped you springboarded your name? Like, what is that like? I'm sure the love is crazy.
Yeah, it's not kinda. It's not kinda. It definitely did. Yeah. No, this is like the chapter two of where it all started. Chapter one is in Memphis, but chapter two is like Arkansas State. And so coming back here, I was like, ooh, we about to bring a medal back to Arkansas. I was like, okay. Because I am a firm believer that everything happens for a reason. Like we're here for a reason. And so I just like to think that reason is something that's, gonna bring us some real happy times. So I'm just like literally back. It's so crazy because I oh, child, ended up going back to this coach that I was with in 2015 last year,
Yeah.
right? I was in Texas, and me and my boyfriend, we were like, you know what? We can do this. Like we know what we need to do. We can do this, right? So then at that time, we were just going to be in Texas. I get a phone call. It's the coach. I'm like, huh, that don't sound so bad. Like maybe, it's a little different than it was in 15. got here, long story short, it wasn't different, but we were there. We were in Alabama, and that was fine.
Yeah.
And I'm a firm believer everything happens for a reason because we're in Alabama, we're at a Birmingham meet, and Arkansas State is there.
Mhm.
Me and my boyfriend, we're there, we're competing, and my boyfriend just jokingly said to the head coach, "Hey, coach, if you ever need a coach, I'm available." And I kid you not, about a month or two later, the head coach is, "Hey, what's Will's number?" I'm like, "My boyfriend." And he's like, "Yeah." And I was like, "Wow, that is crazy." Like, originally we were never going to even be in Alabama. And then that situation didn't work. And it's just like we needed to be there for this. And I'm like, it's so crazy. It just be so crazy because I really be thinking, I'm me and my boyfriend, we talking like, yo, this is crazy. And so everything literally be happening for a reason. And so coming back here, I was like, oh wow, I'm gonna be back here. I can give some advice to the kids that's there. Um, just experience. Like I'm just like, that's good. I'm under my boyfriend's belt. I'm a volunteer coach. So like I'm just there, honestly, just just to give like I don't know, personal opinion. I don't know. Because I'm still learning like the whole coaching thing anyways, but it's just so cool. Like it's so cool. We have everything that we need here in Arkansas. So I'm just like, yeah, this is gonna be dope. And then here go COVID. You're messing up everything.
Yeah, yeah. I also think like, you know, your presence there will speak louder even if you don't speak all the time, right? Because they've now seen someone who went to the same school and went to the same ranks and had success at every step along the way. And I
Yeah.
think sometimes all we need is a little guidance because I think hope needs to be seen and needs to be shown. And
Mm.
I'm just waiting for when I see the post about them giving you the key to the city.
Look, that would be
Key-
nice.
Or the key to the school, because I'm sure
That's cool.
you know what? I wouldn't be surprised if you got a statue. I literally would not be surprised.
Okay, now, if I got that,
You hear
child,
it now.
listen,
You hear it now. You hear it now.
they ain't gonna be able to tell me nothing. They're gonna be like Sharika, yeah, Sharika with the statue, okay?
Hey, statue comes up. Who gonna take it down?
Nobody.
Let's get into these last five questions. Not supposed to be anything hard. It's last five questions that I make everybody do. Question one: if you were trapped on a deserted island for a week and you could only take three things, what are three things you would take?
Ooh, three things that I would take. I was trapped on the island. Three things I would take. Ooh, some water. Okay, so does my hair stuff count as like one big thing or
You can say hair products and we'll
okay, hair products, water hair products, and my boyfriend.
three things. Three things. Okay. Okay. Question two. You remember the show Fear Factor, right?
Yes.
So you know the crazy things that they have to do. You have to pick between a stir fry, right? No stir fry. But in the stir fry
Catch.
is
Some kind of catch to it.
stir fry is spiders, cockroaches, snakes. Um, I'm gonna throw in some spinach in there for health purposes, wellness purposes, or you have to swim with sharks. Which one are you doing?
Ooh. I'm gonna swim with the sharks.
You're not messing with the stir fry.
Nah, I have to eat it?
You gotta eat it.
No, I'm not gonna eat that. Hopefully I have some kind of protection. I'm in a cage or something.
Question three, and I think this would be again this next question. I don't think it would be too far fetched for it to become a reality. Uh, if there was a movie about you, who would play you?
Who would play me? That is a really good question. Who would play me? Like little me as a little kid?
You can give me little kid, and you can give me adult.
Ooh. Okay, so if it was like around this time, I think I could play myself as an adult. But if it was a little kid, who would I want to play me as a little kid? Ooh, I don't know. I would play myself as the adult though. That's as real as it gets. Like you can't go and find somebody that's gonna be like,
And
I
you can
like
act though. You can act a little bit.
we can make it work. We can make it work. We might take a whole lot of cuts, but we can make it work.
Hey, question 4. I think everybody sees us in 2 different lights. Um, what is one of the biggest misunderstandings about Sharika?
People think, but not. People think I am the B word. They really do, and I think it's like my resting whatever face that people think that I'm just like such a whatever. But I'm really cool though. Like only time I'm like that is when the vibe is off. That's it.
That's definitely true. Again, like I've never seen anything of what you're saying and what they may be thinking. Never.
And it's never the guys though. It's always the women.
We're gonna leave it alone. We're gonna leave it alone. With everything that you've been through, from young to now, everything you've been able to accomplish, everything that you represent, everything that you aspire to be. If there was one word to describe Sharika Nelvis, what would that one word be and why?
Happy. Because I've already had my sad moments. So I'm just happy.
Sharika, where can people keep in contact with you? Man, send you little DMs about coming to the school.
Yeah, I be reading those DMs requests if they're not too crazy. I'll open them and reply to people. But no, I'm on Instagram and Twitter, hurdle_holic. It's as simple as that. Or you can just type in Sharika Nelvis.
It's crazy because literally, if you're a young athlete listening to this, and maybe you want to go to Arkansas State, Sharika will read these messages. You know what I'm saying? I'm not gonna say she's gonna pass in a word like that, but if
Always
she
pass the word.
it,
Listen, I always pass in the word, right? Because I'm heavily connected. So then I got the coach in there, and then I got the head coach like, hey coach, look at this.
Again, you talking.
I've already done 2 athletes. I feel really good about it too. I've talked to multiple people, but as far as like, because when the whole volunteer thing came out, I don't know if people thought I was just like coaching or something. They were in my DMs. I'm like, I can pass it along. I don't have no problem with that at all. And they can do what they want to do with it. But I'm just letting you know, I'm just a volunteer. I can put a plug in the ear, but I'm just a volunteer. So no, I just got no problem at all.
You put a little something on it, like a layaway. You know what I'm saying? You put a little something on it. But Sharika, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it. I appreciate you. And again, the statue, 2023. I'm gonna leave it there.
This is recorded, right? So you got to keep this because when it happens,
oh yeah,
first person said it.
oh yeah.
No problem, man. Thank you so much. I definitely appreciate it. I had fun.
All right, Sharika. Have a good day.
Thank you. Goodbye.